The night I got stuck in an elevator with my work rival, I was holding 3 proposal folders, 1 lukewarm coffee, and the last not shred of patience I had left for Helena Voss. Then the lights flickered. The elevator stopped between floors, and Helena looked at me in the dim emergency glow and said, "I've always wanted to be alone with you." Too calmly. That was the problem. If she had said it like a joke, I could have laughed. If she had said it like a threat, I could have argued. But Helena said it like a fact she had been keeping in a locked drawer and had finally decided the elevator was as good a place as any to open it. My name is Adrian Cole. I was 34, a senior brand strategist at a design agency in Boston, and for the previous 18 months, Helena had been the most irritatingly competent person in my professional life. She was our creative strategy lead. I was client development. In theory, we were supposed to work together. In practice, we behaved like 2 people trapped in a group project neither of us had approved. Helena thought I made clients too comfortable. I thought she made them feel like they had failed an art exam. She said my decks were polished enough to hide weak instincts. I said her mood boards looked like a hostage note assembled by a very expensive gallery. People at the agency acted like our arguments were entertainment. They weren't completely wrong. We never got sloppy. We never yelled. We never made it personal in front of anyone. But every meeting between us had the temperature of a courtroom with better fonts. The worst part was that she was usually right. Not always. I had my pride, but often enough to make disliking her extremely inconvenient. Helena noticed everything. A client's hesitation before saying yes. A partner's vague wording when budget was about to get cut. A campaign idea that sounded brilliant for 7 minutes and then collapsed the second she asked one precise question. She also noticed me. That was harder to admit. If I skipped lunch, she would slide a protein bar across the conference table without looking at me and say, "Your blood sugar is making your argument worse." If I wore the blue suit, she would say, "Client-facing armor today?" If I won a room over too easily, she would catch me afterward and say, "You're better when you don't charm your way around the difficult part." I hated that. I also remembered every word. The night of the elevator, we had stayed late for the Mercer pitch. Mercer was a luxury hotel group trying to rebrand without sounding like every other luxury hotel group trying to rebrand. 3 agencies were competing. Our partners were nervous. The creative team was exhausted. The conference room had become a graveyard of coffee cups, rejected taglines, and people pretending "almost there" meant anything. At 10:40, the final version was printed. Helena stood at the end of the table, arms crossed. Dark hair pinned up badly after a 12-hour day, sleeves rolled, red pen still tucked behind one ear like a warning. I gathered the folders. She looked at the deck in my hand and said, "Slide 12 is still soft." I closed my eyes. "Helena, it is. It's 10:40 at night. Time does not improve weak messaging. It improves my willingness to ignore you. That has historically been your problem." One of the junior designers made the mistake of laughing. I pointed at him. "Don't encourage her." Helena didn't smile, but her mouth almost moved. Almost. By 11, the office had cleared out. The rain had started against the windows, turning downtown Boston into black glass and blurry lights. I was heading downstairs to leave the proposal folders with security for the morning courier when Helena stepped into the elevator beside me. Of course she did, because apparently even gravity wanted us to argue. I pressed lobby. She pressed nothing. "You're going down?" I asked. "That is how elevators generally work." "I meant you're leaving." I understood. "Then why answer like that?" "Because you ask questions with unnecessary words." I looked at her. She looked straight ahead. The elevator started moving. For 3 blessed seconds, we were quiet. Then she said, "You changed slide 12 after I commented." I looked at the folders. "I adjusted it." "You fixed it." "Don't sound so disappointed." "I'm not disappointed. I'm surprised you listened." "I listen. You selectively absorb. Better than aggressively diagnose." She finally turned her head toward me. "Is that what I do?" "Professionally, yes. And personally?" That was where the air changed. "Not much, just enough." I looked at her. "We don't do personally." Her eyes stayed on mine. Then the elevator jolted. The coffee in my hand sloshed over the lid. The lights flickered once, twice, and cut down to emergency glow. The elevator stopped hard enough that Helena grabbed the rail behind her. I steadied myself against the wall. For a second, neither of us spoke. Then Helena said, "Of course." I stared at the ceiling. "You're blaming me?" "I'm considering it." I pressed the emergency button. A crackling voice answered after a few seconds, telling us building security was aware of a temporary power issue and maintenance was on the way. Temporary apparently meant no clear estimate. The speaker clicked off. The elevator became too quiet. Small spaces change things. Boardrooms let you perform, offices let you leave, hallways give you exits, an elevator gives you walls. Helena stood across from me, arms folded, face lit by the dim red emergency light, looking far too composed for someone stuck between the 21st and 20th floors. I set the coffee carefully on the floor. "Well," I said, "at least we have 3 printed decks and no useful snacks." Her eyes moved to the folders. "If we die here, Mercer will still receive the strongest proposal." "That's comforting." "I thought so." A minute passed, then another. Rain tapped somewhere beyond the shaft, distant and metallic. Helena leaned back against the wall and looked at me with an expression I couldn't place. Not annoyed, not amused, focused. "What?" I asked. She didn't answer immediately. That was unlike her. Then she said, "I've always wanted to be alone with you." The sentence hit the elevator like the power had gone out a second time. I stared at her. "Excuse me?" "You heard me." "I'm hoping I didn't." "You did." I laughed once, but it came out wrong. "Is this a threat, a confession, or a highly inappropriate team-building exercise?" Her mouth curved slightly, not enough to be safe. "That depends on whether you finally stop pretending you don't notice." My grip tightened on the folder. "Notice what?" Helena pushed away from the wall. "Not close? Not yet. But closer than before." "The way you look for me after every client meeting," she said. "The way you argue harder when I'm in the room. The way you change your slides after pretending not to care what I think." Her voice stayed quiet. "The way you hear me even when you act like I'm impossible." I had no clever answer. That was rare. She took one more step and the elevator suddenly felt much smaller than it was. "Helena," I said carefully. "No," she said. "Don't make it professional. Not tonight." The emergency light hummed above us. Somewhere far below, metal shifted in the shaft. And for the first time since I had known her, Helena Voss looked less like my rival and more like a woman who had been waiting for the door to close before finally telling the truth. I did the only thing a man can do when his work rival steps closer in a stalled elevator and starts naming all the things he's been pretending not to feel. I looked at the floor number, as if that would save me. It still said 20. The elevator did not care about my dignity, Helena noticed. Of course she noticed. "You're looking for an exit," she said. "I'm looking for oxygen. There's plenty. Not emotionally." That almost made her smile. Almost. She stayed where she was, close enough now that I could smell rain on her coat and the faint trace of whatever perfume she wore that never seemed noticeable until she was too near. I cleared my throat. "You can't just say something like that in a broken elevator." "I can, if the elevator is broken. That is not a loophole. It is tonight." I stared at her. Helena Voss, who once sent back an entire client brief with the comment "unclear premise," lazy emotional logic, was standing in emergency lighting looking at me like I was the unclear premise. And the worst part was that I wanted to know what came next. Badly. So I did what I always did with Helena when things got dangerous. I argued. "You don't want to be alone with me," I said. "You want the advantage of an enclosed space where I can't leave mid-critique." Her eyes sharpened. "Is that what you think this is?" "I think you enjoy cornering people. Only when they run in circles." "That sounds like me? With better shoes." I laughed despite myself. The sound came out too soft, too private for the elevator. Helena heard that too. Her expression changed just enough to make my chest tighten. Then she stepped back. Not far, but enough to give me room. "I didn't say it to trap you," she said. That was the first time her voice lost its edge. I looked at her more carefully. The emergency glow made her look different, less polished. Her hair had started slipping from the pins. The red pen was still behind one ear. There was a faint ink mark on her wrist, probably from correcting some poor sentence into submission. She looked tired, not weak, just tired of holding the same line. Then why say it? I asked. She looked at the closed doors. Because tomorrow morning after Mercer, everyone will act like the pitch is the most important thing that happened this week. It might be. No. She turned back to me. It won't. I went still. There it was. The thing under the thing. What does that mean? Helena folded her arms again, but this time it looked less like armor and more like habit. I got an offer. I didn't answer immediately. The elevator hummed around us. From where? Vale North. That hit. Vale North was not just another agency. It was the agency. Bigger accounts, better creative budgets, less begging clients to care about strategy after they had already chosen the obvious option. I looked at her. That's good. Her mouth moved. Convincing. It is good. Then why do you look like I just pushed you down the elevator shaft? I'm processing. You mean you're annoyed? I can be both. This time she really did smile, but it was small and sad enough that I hated it. They want me in New York, she said. Strategy director, start date in 6 weeks. 6 weeks. I repeated it silently, like repetition might make it less immediate. It didn't. So that's what this is? I asked. A goodbye confession? Her face closed slightly. No. Then what? I don't know. She looked frustrated now, but not with me. With the fact that honesty did not arrive pre-formatted. That's the problem. I know how to build a campaign around human desire for a hotel brand that charges $900 a night. I know how to make a room of executives admit they are afraid of sounding irrelevant. I know exactly where your decks get weak and why your charm works even when it shouldn't. Thank you, but I don't know what to call this. She gestured between us once. And I am tired of pretending that not naming something makes it professional. That left me with nothing, because I had been doing the same thing, calling it rivalry, calling it standards, calling it creative friction. Anything but the thing that made me look for her reaction after every meeting. Anything but the reason her approval landed harder than applause from the whole room. I leaned back against the elevator wall. You should take the offer. Helena's face shifted. Not surprise, disappointment. Fast enough to hurt. I know, she said. No, I mean it. You should. Vale North would be lucky to have you. That sounds generous. It's true. And incomplete. I hated how well she knew when I was hiding half a sentence. I looked down at the folders in my hand. Mercer. The pitch that had kept us in the same room for 6 weeks? The last big thing we might build together. Then I said, I don't want you to take it. Helena went quiet. I forced myself to look at her. I want you to stay and keep ruining my easy wins. I want you in the room when I think something is finished, and you prove it isn't. I want to keep pretending I hate the way you see through me because admitting I need it sounds worse. I swallowed once, but none of that means you shouldn't go. Her eyes stayed on mine. The elevator felt smaller again. But this time, not because of the walls, because there was nowhere left for either of us to stand outside the truth. Helena's voice dropped. That's the first honest thing you've said to me all year. Then don't get used to it. Too late. The speaker above us crackled suddenly. We both flinched like guilty people. Elevator car 3, this is security. Maintenance is on site. We should have you moving within 10 minutes. 10 minutes. A ridiculous amount of time. An impossible amount of time. Helena looked at the speaker, then back at me, and I saw the same thought pass through her face. Once those doors opened, the building would come back. Security, the lobby, the proposal folders, the morning pitch, people, titles, timing, New York. All the convenient reasons to stop being honest. I set the folders on the floor beside the coffee. Helena watched the movement. Then she said very quietly, Adrian. That was the first time she had said my name tonight without a weapon attached. I looked at her. She took one step closer. Still no touch. Just close enough that the decision became visible. When the doors open, she said, "Are we going back to pretending?" I should have had an answer. I didn't. And in the silence, Helena's face told me she had expected that. Maybe feared it. Maybe already forgiven it. That was what made me finally move. Not toward the doors, toward her. I moved toward Helena, not fast, not dramatically, just one step, then another. Enough for the air between us to change from argument to something neither of us could blame on bad lighting. Helena did not move back. That was the most dangerous part. She stood there in the emergency glow with her red pen behind one ear, her hair half loose, and her whole face stripped of the neat, cutting certainty she used in conference rooms. For once, she wasn't correcting me. She was waiting. I stopped close enough that I could have reached for her hand. I didn't. Not because I didn't want to, because the doors could open any second, and I was suddenly aware that if I touched her now in a stalled elevator between floors, it might become too easy to pretend the whole thing had been caused by pressure and bad timing. Helena noticed the restraint. Her eyes flicked down to my hand, then back up. "Still looking for oxygen?" she asked. "No," I said, trying not to make a decision we can blame on a power outage. For a second, disappointment crossed her face. Then respect followed it. That mattered more. "You're annoyingly careful when it counts," she said. "I'm trying something new." The speaker crackled again before she could answer. "Car 3, stand by. We're moving you manually to 21. Doors may open unevenly." Helena closed her eyes briefly. Perfect. The elevator lurched. She reached for the rail, missed it, and caught my sleeve instead. Just for balance. Still, the contact hit me harder than it should have. Her fingers tightened once around the fabric, then released like she had noticed too. The car shifted upward with a mechanical groan. A few seconds later, the doors opened halfway onto the 21st floor. A security guard and a maintenance tech stood outside. Behind them, because the universe has terrible comic timing, stood Marcus Bell, one of our agency partners. Marcus looked from me to Helena, then to the proposal folders on the elevator floor, then back to us. His smile arrived slowly. "Well," he said, "productive delay." Helena's face turned professional so fast it should have made a sound. "Power issue," she said. Clearly. I picked up the folders and coffee. "We were trapped for 20 minutes, Marcus. Try not to turn it into a creative brief." He lifted both hands. "Wouldn't dream of it." He absolutely would. By the time we reached the lobby, Helena was 3 steps ahead of me and completely unreachable again. That bothered me more than it should have. Outside, rain was still coming down hard. Her car was waiting at the curb. Mine was in the garage. We stopped under the awning with the folders between us and all the things we had almost said, pressing against the night. "Tomorrow morning," she said. "Mercer, 8:30. "That's what you want to talk about?" "No." Her eyes met mine. "That's what we have to survive before anything else." Then she got in her car and left. The Mercer pitch the next morning was brutal. Not because we were unprepared, because Marcus had clearly decided the elevator story was more useful as a weapon than a joke. 5 minutes before the client arrived, he pulled me aside near the glass wall and said, "Whatever's going on with you and Helena, keep it invisible in there." I looked at him. "Nothing is going on." He smiled. That was not convincing. It wasn't meant to be. It was meant to be final. His smile thinned. "Adrian, Mercer is a conservative client. They don't need to feel personal tension in the room." That annoyed me. Not because he was wrong about appearances, because he was pretending he cared about the client when what he really wanted was leverage. Across the room, Helena was reviewing the deck on a tablet, expression still and unreadable. But I saw her eyes lift once. She had heard enough. Mercer arrived at 8:30 sharp. 4 executives, 1 brand director, 1 CFO who looked like he distrusted adjectives, 1 CEO named Evelyn Grant, who shook hands like she had already read the room and found it inefficient. For the first 20 minutes, everything went well. I opened. Helena built. I translated strategy into commercial outcomes. She sharpened the emotional architecture. We moved together with the kind of rhythm that only looks effortless if you ignore the 18 months of fighting it took to earn it. Then we reached slide 12, the one she had called soft, the one I had fixed because of her. Evelyn Grant leaned forward. This is the first line today that doesn't sound like a hotel trying to seduce a search algorithm. Helena's eyes cut briefly to mine. I didn't smile. Barely. The room turned. Mercer started asking real questions, hard questions, good ones. Helena answered too. I handled the financial positioning. She caught the CEO's concern before the CEO said it out loud. I adjusted the implementation timeline on the fly. For 20 minutes, we were not rivals. We were dangerous. Then Marcus ruined it. Near the end, he said, of course, one strength of our team is continuity. Adrian will lead client relationship and Helena will support creative transition. Support, one word. Helena's expression did not change. Mine did, because Helena had built half the strategy in that room. More than half, if we were being honest. And Marcus had just reduced her to a transition function in front of the client. Maybe because of the Vale North offer? Maybe because of the elevator. Maybe because men like Marcus called women brilliant until the room started believing it. Evelyn Grant looked at Helena. Support? Helena opened her mouth. I got there first. Co-lead, I said. The room shifted. Marcus looked at me sharply. Adrian, Helena is not supporting this strategy. She built its spine. I turned back to Mercer. If we win your account, you'll want both of us in the room. She'll tell you when the work is becoming generic. I'll tell you how to sell it without sanding off what makes it worth buying. Silence. Not comfortable. Useful. Helena was looking at me now like she had forgotten for a second how to dislike me. Evelyn Grant tapped her pen once on the table. Good, she said. That's the first moment I believed you were telling us the truth. Marcus shut up after that. We won Mercer at 4:20 that afternoon. The email came through while Helena and I were alone in the small print room, of all places, waiting for copies of a revised scope document. My phone buzzed first, then hers. For 1 second, we just stared at the screens. Then Helena let out a breath that almost became a laugh. We won, she said. We did. She looked up at me. No boardroom, no elevator, no Marcus, no client watching. Just the hum of the printer and the strange, exhausted victory of having fought side by side instead of across the table. You defended me in there, she said. I corrected the room. That's your version of defending someone? It sounds less noble. I didn't ask for noble. No, I said. You asked if we were going back to pretending. Her expression changed. The printer spat out another page. Neither of us reached for it. I took one step closer. This time, she did too. Then her phone rang. Vale North. The name lit up on the screen between us like an answer neither of us wanted yet. Helena looked at it, then at me. And for the first time, I saw the real problem in her face. Not whether she wanted me, whether wanting me was going to make her betray herself. Helena let the call ring, once, twice, 3 times. Vale. North lit up her phone like a door opening in another city. I did not tell her to ignore it. That would have been easy, selfish, and exactly the kind of thing we would both regret once the elevator glow wore off and the real world came back with calendars, contracts, and rent. So I stepped back. Not far. Just enough to make sure the choice could breathe. You should answer, I said. Her eyes stayed on mine. That is a very inconveniently mature sentence. I hate it too. The phone kept ringing. She looked down, then finally answered. Helena Voss. Her voice changed immediately. Professional, clear, untouchable. I watched her listen. Yes, I'm aware. No, I appreciate that. Monday would be too soon. I need the weekend. A pause. Then her eyes flicked briefly toward me. No, she said. This isn't hesitation. It's due diligence. Of course it was. Even emotionally cornered, Helena could make uncertainty sound like a board policy. She ended the call. The print room felt too small again. They want my answer Monday, she said. And And they improved the offer. I nodded once. Good. Her mouth tightened. Stop saying good like it doesn't hurt. That landed. Because it did hurt. It hurt in a way I did not know what to do with. Not dramatic heartbreak, not betrayal. Something worse because it was reasonable. She had earned this. She should take it. And I wanted her not to. Both truths sat there, ugly and equal. I leaned back against the counter. If I tell you I want you to stay, I'm afraid you'll hear me asking you to become smaller. And if you tell me to go, she said, I'm afraid you'll make yourself noble so you don't have to be honest. I looked at her. There it was again. That unbearable accuracy. What do you want me to say? I asked. The truth, without turning it into advice. That was harder. Advice lets a man hide behind wisdom. Truth does not. So I said, I don't want Monday to come. Her face changed. I don't want Vale North to exist. I don't want New York to be a better move for you. I don't want to learn how much of my day has been built around arguing with you only after you leave. I swallowed once. But I also don't want to be the man you resent because I made staying feel romantic. Helena looked down at the phone in her hand. For once, she did not have the clean answer ready. I hate that you understand the problem, she said. So do I. The printer beeped because nobody had removed the papers. Neither of us moved. Then Helena laughed softly, not happily. Just like the absurdity had finally become too precise. We won, Mercer, she said. We did. I may leave in 6 weeks. You might. And the first honest conversation we've had happened in a broken elevator. I'd call that on-brand for us. That finally pulled a real smile from her. Small, tired, devastating. Then the print room door opened. Marcus stepped in, saw us, and stopped. Again, his timing was becoming a workplace hazard. Helena picked up the printed documents without looking at him. Marcus. Helena, Adrian. His eyes moved between us. Celebrating? Working, she said. Of course. He had that tone again, the one men use when they think implication is more useful than accusation. Something in Helena's face went cold. I saw her preparing to absorb it. Not because she was weak, because women like Helena had been trained by 1,000 rooms to calculate the cost before responding. This time, I did not get there first. She did. Say what you mean, she said. Marcus blinked. Excuse me? If you are implying that Adrian's correction in the Mercer pitch was personal, say so clearly. If you are implying that my role was overstated because of something you think you saw after an elevator malfunction, say that clearly too. She held the papers against her chest. Otherwise move. We have a client scope to finalize. Marcus's face tightened. For one strange second, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. He stepped aside. Helena walked past him first. I followed. In the hallway, she did not slow until we reached the empty conference room where the Mercer deck still sat on the table like evidence. She closed the door behind us. Then she turned to me and said, I'm taking the weekend. For the offer? For everything. I nodded. Good. She gave me a look. I lifted one hand. Sorry, accurate, not helpful. She walked to the window. Boston spread out below us in wet glass and traffic lights. I have spent my entire career proving I deserved rooms I was already standing in, she said. Vale North feels like proof. It is proof. But Mercer today felt like something else. What? She looked at me over her shoulder. Partnership. The word hit harder than I expected, because rivalry had always been easier to explain. Partnership required trust. Partnership required admitting that the person across the table was not in your way. They were part of how you got better. I walked closer, stopping beside her at the window. No elevator walls this time, no emergency lights, no excuse. If you go, I said, I don't want us to turn this into a tragic almost. Her eyes stayed on the city. And if I stay, I don't want you staying because of me. She turned then. You keep trying to make this clean. I know. It isn't. No. And maybe that's the point. Her voice softened. Maybe not every real thing arrives with clean timing and a sensible implementation plan. That sounds like something you'd mark as emotionally obvious in a client deck. I would. And I'd be right. I smiled. Then she did too. For the first time, neither of us looked away. Helena stepped closer. This time I did not. She stopped inches from me, eyes steady, voice low. I am going to consider New York seriously, she said. You should. And I am going to consider what happened here seriously. You should. And right now, she whispered, I am very tired of being serious from across the room. That was the last clean line between us. I touched her face slowly enough for her to stop me. She didn't. Then I kissed her. Not like a victory, not like a goodbye, like a decision neither of us had finished making but could no longer pretend wasn't real. When we pulled apart, Helena rested her forehead lightly against mine and let out one unsteady breath. Then she said, If you become smug, I'll resign immediately. I laughed. I wouldn't dare. You absolutely would. I might. There he is. Her phone buzzed again. This time, not Vale North. A message from Marcus. Board wants a Monday debrief on Mercer leadership structure. We need clarity on who owns this account. Helena looked at it, then at me, and somehow the kiss did not simplify anything. It made the next choice sharper. Because Monday was no longer only about New York. It was about whether we were brave enough to stop letting other people define what we were allowed to build. Monday arrived like it had a personal grudge. By 8:30, Helena and I were in conference room 6 with Marcus, 2 partners, 1 finance director, and the Mercer scope spread across the table like a legal proceeding. No one mentioned the elevator. No one mentioned the kiss. No one mentioned Vale North. That was how I knew everyone knew enough to be dangerous. Marcus opened with his polished voice. Given the scale of the Mercer account, we need clarity on leadership. Adrian, client relationship. Helena, creative transition. Helena set her pen down. Quietly. That was the first warning. Say transition again, she said. Marcus paused. Excuse me? Say it again, but this time explain why the person who built the strategic spine of the winning pitch is being described as temporary support. The room went still. I did not step in. That mattered. This was not my moment to rescue her. It was her moment to refuse the frame. Marcus leaned back. Helena, no one is diminishing your contribution. You are, she said. You're just using softer lighting. One of the partners looked down at his notes. I nearly smiled. Helena continued, calm and lethal. Mercer bought the partnership they saw in that room. Adrian leads client architecture and commercial positioning. I lead creative strategy and brand system development. The account is co-led until I say otherwise. Marcus's eyes narrowed. Until you say otherwise? That was the opening. Helena took it. I received an offer from Vale North, strategy director, New York. I'm taking it. The sentence hit the table hard. I knew it was coming. It still hurt. Not because she chose wrong, because she chose right. She looked at me, then, not apologizing, not asking permission, just telling me the truth in a room where truth had become overdue. I nodded once, small, enough. Then Helena turned back to the partners. My last day will be in 6 weeks. Until then, I will build the Mercer system properly, document the strategy, and transition the creative team without pretending the work is smaller than it is. Adrian should remain client lead after my departure, not because he's easier for the room to manage, because he understands the account. Marcus looked like he had swallowed a paperclip. One of the senior partners cleared his throat. That is clearer than expected. Helena picked up her pen. Clarity saves time. That was Helena. Even while leaving, she improved the meeting. Afterward, I found her in the stairwell, not the elevator. Neither of us wanted to tempt symbolism too aggressively. She stood near the window, arms folded, Boston gray behind her. You knew? I asked. That I was taking it? Yes. Since Saturday morning. I nodded. It made sense. It also made my chest feel like someone had tightened a bolt too far. She watched my face. Are you angry? No. Disappointed? Yes. Her expression shifted. I stepped closer. Not in you. She looked away. That hurt more than if she had stayed sharp. I don't know how to do this, she said. New York? Us? There it was. The word, finally. Us. I took a breath. Then we don't pretend distance is romantic. Her eyes came back to mine. It's not, I said. It's inconvenient, expensive, poorly lit by airport terminals, but I'd rather deal with inconvenient than turn this into something we were too afraid to try. Helena's mouth trembled once, not enough for anyone else to notice. Enough for me. And if it fails, she asked, then it fails honestly. She let out a small breath. I hate that answer. I know. It's correct. I also know. That got the smallest smile from her. 6 weeks later, Helena moved to New York. I did not ask her to stay. She did not ask me to follow. That was the first proof that what we had was not a trapped elevator fantasy. It survived daylight, work calendars, train tickets, bad timing, and the brutal inconvenience of two ambitious people refusing to make love an excuse to become smaller. The first year was not easy. There were Friday night trains and Sunday evening goodbyes. There were calls cut short by client crises. There were arguments over nothing because nothing was safer than admitting we missed each other too much. But there were also mornings when she sent me one sentence about a campaign and I knew exactly what part of the work had annoyed her. Nights when I sent her a deck and she replied, "Slide 7 is emotionally dishonest," and I smiled like an idiot in an empty office. Mercer became one of our best accounts. Marcus left the agency 9 months later after discovering that vague authority works poorly when people start asking direct questions. Helena thrived at Vale North. Of course she did. New York did not soften her, it sharpened her. She became the kind of strategist people quoted in rooms she had not even entered yet. And somehow, through all of that, she kept choosing me. Not daily in a dramatic way, in ordinary ways. A text before a pitch, a call after a bad meeting, her coat on my chair when she visited, my coffee mug in her New York kitchen because she claimed mine was less offensive than her guest cups. 2 years later, Vale North opened a Boston satellite. Helena came back to build it. Not for me, not only. That distinction mattered. She came because the work made sense, because the market was right, because she had earned the right to choose where her life expanded next. And when she stepped out of the train station that rainy October evening, dark coat, sharp eyes, one suitcase, no apology, I thought about that stalled elevator and the woman who had said she had always wanted to be alone with me. This time, we were not alone. The station was crowded, loud, indifferent. She walked straight to me anyway. Say something irritating, she said. I missed you too. Too sentimental. You came back. For the office, of course. And, she said softer, for the man who finally stopped pretending. A year after that, we started our own firm. Not immediately, not impulsively. We planned it with unreasonable spreadsheets, 3 legal reviews, and enough arguments to qualify as market research. We named it Voss Cole. She hated how traditional it sounded. I said alphabetical order would have damaged morale. Our first office was on the 9th floor of an old building with unreliable heat and one elevator that made a suspicious grinding noise. We took the stairs for the first month. Then, one night, after our first major client signed, the elevator doors opened. Helena looked at me. I looked at her. Absolutely not, she said. Coward. She stepped inside first. I followed. The doors closed. The elevator moved smoothly. No flicker, no halt, no emergency light. Just us. Helena leaned against the wall, arms folded, smiling like she had finally found a room where neither of us needed to perform. I've always wanted to be alone with you, she said. I laughed.